Hey, guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a story of what if Naruto trained seriously, after the Sasuke retrieval arc. After Naruto and Sasuke's fight at the Valley of the End, Naruto has an epiphany, and everything he thought about changes. Now during his training trip with Jiraya, the blonde trains like crazy, returning to the village, 2.5 years later, as a new shinobi. One who vows to protect the village even if it costs his life. However, those who knew his usual nature wished he didn't change. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, it means a lot to me, and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic. Now let's start the story. Author note: hello everyone and welcome to another chapter of regret. Before giving some input on this story, I'd like to use this opportunity to point out a major flaw in Kishimoto's manga. If I'm wrong, please correct me. A long time ago, 30 or more chapters back, Sasuke managed to kill Danzo, or rather the man killed himself with a seal on his body. However, so far, no one even bothered to uncover the man's secrets. For God's sake, the man had Sharingan eyes implanted on his arm and the DNA of the Shidime Hokage as well. Nothing of the sort was found, though. When Sasuke killed Orochimaru, Konoha was aware the same minute. Also, why didn't Konoha bother to check Danzu's root shinobi as well as the secrets hidden by the old war hawk? So many plot holes unanswered regarding Danzo, which was considered by many the real one behind the Uchiha massacre. Madara, by all means, just assisted Itachi from the shadow. All that Kishimoto seems to focus, instead, is to bring every damn shinobi from the dead and have them fight the Five Village Alliance. Now, regarding this story. I was glad that you enjoyed my version of the Gaara retrieval. Now that this arc is finished, it would be time for the fight with Orochimaru, right? Wrong. Last chapter, Sasori didn't reveal that he would be meeting Kabuto on the bridge, therefore there won't be any mission. Also, Sai won't show up, can't say the same about Yamato, though. As I stated before, I'll follow the Shippuden timeline to a certain degree, throwing in some new events in order to prove our heroes' strength and skills. Eventually, the story will return to Kishimoto's course of action, but for now, I'll be adding a new arc regarding Team 7 and Team 10. I hope it will be as enjoyable as it has been so far. Chapter 13: A couple's night out. 2 days passed since Gaara was brought back to Sunagakure and the two teams from Konoha decided to stay, in order to recuperate. Also, Naruto was still due to wake up, seeing as he used a lot of chakra against both Akatsuki Deidara and Sasori, even killing the last. Because of this event, Naruto received a treatment reserved only for the Kazekage. It was the very Godime Kazekage who ordered such thing, and, thus, Naruto was receiving attention from the best medics Suna had to offer. Of course, they would need to get through Sakura first. The pink-haired Chunin took plain responsibility for her teammates' care and dared anyone to challenge her. Therefore, Sakura remained alone taking care of Naruto, using every bit of the skills taught by both the Godime Hokage and Shizune. Naruto would be completely healed by this time tomorrow, for sure. Kakashi could only smile at his beautiful student's antics, often preferring to wander around town with Neji. It was definitely better than accepting Guy's challenge to scale Sunagakure's top mountains twice. He was lucky that Lee, Guy's student, accepted the challenge, otherwise Guy wouldn't stop bugging him. Tenten opted to hang out with Temari as she showed the weapon mistress around Suna. It was actually quite surprising to see both ladies having so much fun together, seeing as, 3 years ago, Tenten couldn't stand Temari. Probably, because the wind user wiped the floor with her at their first Chunin exams. However, because of the time spent between Suna and Konoha, Temari made a lot of friends in Konoha and Tenten ended up being one of them. Both were competent and highly skilled kunoichi, therefore they had a lot to talk about, besides regular woman talk like men, for instance. Temari kept saying that Shikamaru was so lazy that even though he liked her, he wouldn't make a move because it was troublesome. Tenten, for her part, chose to complain about Neji's cold attitude outside of missions. Overall, those from Konoha were having a nice time, while Naruto recovered. Speaking of the blonde, he was resting peacefully inside his hospital room, while Sakura ran her last diagnosis check on him. The rate in which any normal shinobi would recover from chakra exhaustion was at least 2 weeks, but Naruto wasn't normal by any means. He only needed 2 to 3 days, something she always seemed to wonder why, but no one ever explained it to her. She smiled, though, seeing as by this time tomorrow, they would return to Konoha. Afterwards, she left the room in order for Naruto to get as much rest as he could. However, if she remained a couple more minutes, she would have noticed that Naruto began to sweat, because of the sudden pain inside his body. Inside Naruto's mind the only noise Naruto could hear were the few droplets of water that echoed throughout the sewer that represented his mind. The blonde knew enough about his tenant to realize that it wanted to talk to him about something. Naruto almost felt nostalgic upon looking around this place one more time. Because of his training with Jiraya and Yugao, not once did he bother to use or improve his control over the fox's chakra. The reason was that he didn't enjoy being over-reliant on the same thing time and time again. It was his resolution a couple days before his training trip began to acquire other skills besides Kage Bunshin, Rasengan and the fox's chakra. Naruto chuckled at the prospect of the fox calling him here because the gigantic demon was lonely and needed some company. As he walked towards the room where the cage was located, he could feel the enormous, almost poisoning, killing intent that leaked from his chakra coils, represented inside his mind by the pipes that ran along the walls of the sewer. It could only mean that the fox was mad about something and that could never be good. A couple minutes passed before Naruto walked inside the room and narrowed his eyes upon seeing the amount of malevolent chakra being leaked from the cage right now. It was only because of Ero-sensei and Sojiro-sensei's lessons, that Naruto managed to act aloof as he saw the red menacing eyes looking down upon him. He could see all kinds of evil in that look and could only wonder what could have pissed the fox off so much. The demon, for its part, saw the boy in front of him and snarled at him, with rage beyond words, scratching the resistant bars that kept him locked inside Naruto. Kyuubi was a proud demon. Therefore, when his damned host decided, out of nowhere, that he didn't need the fox's power anymore, it was infuriating. I take it you wanted to say something to me, Kyuubi. Naruto asked as he tried, with all his might, to control his urges to flee from the room. He almost blacked out when the fox roared at him from within the cage, in response to his question. The demon's chakra was so strong that his legs started shaking. Of course, I want to say something, you brat. You don't use as much of my chakra as you did in the past. What is it? You think you can survive out there without my help? You're weak. Without me you're nothing but a pathetic meat bag. The sheer force of the fox's chakra was enough that Naruto was having trouble to breathe, much less think of a proper response to give. And despite the fox's blind rage at being dismissed so easily, Kyuubi couldn't help but smirk upon seeing his tenant holding up like this. A couple years ago, the brat never won a battle using his own skills, rather depending on the fox's power to beat his enemies. Now, though, the brat had grown. He went from plain incompetent to adequate in Kyuubi's opinion, and that was saying something. It, immediately, diminished the chakra leakage and looked as Naruto got up from the ground, while slowly gaining his breathing once more. Why did you stop? I thought you were mad at me, damn fur ball. The fact that you have enough balls to stand strong when others almost died upon facing my wrath speaks volumes of your newly acquired skills. I'm still pissed at the fact that you feel that you don't need me as much anymore. So, I'm proposing a deal to you, brat. Tell me first, though, why are you so against using my power? Surely, your techniques would at least double in power and your speed would be unmatched. Tell me, brat, why do you fight so much against me? It's not like I will do something to get you killed, since I would go to hell as well, so what is it? Kyuubi asked, surprising Naruto a bit. First of all, the minute I use it, you start overloading my brain with negative thoughts, which would, then, lead to me using more chakra than I can control. Because of it, I lose track of my surroundings and become a threat instead of an ally. Also, as you probably know, I don't want to be reliant on you alone, and contrary to what you believe, I'm not neglecting you, you damn fur ball. When I face a foe I can't beat with my own chakra, I don't have any other choice but to borrow yours. I did it when I fought against Sasori, remember? Naruto explained, before hearing what he believed was a snort of sarcasm coming from the fox's mouth. He wasn't certain, though. Yes, for 5 minutes, anyway, about the deal. I'm not asking you to use my chakra every damn time. And when you use it, I won't try manipulating your thoughts. The deal was almost too good to be true, hence why the blonde found it difficult to believe his tenant. It was true that Naruto now rarely used the fox's chakra, and it was also true that when he used it against Sasori, he felt like he could withstand it without dire repercussions, which meant that his training helped him. However, the prospect of using more of Kyuubi's power and not be manipulated by the chakra's effects was too much to pass up. He could feel that the fox wanted something out of this bargain. As I can hear your thoughts, you want to know what is in it for me in this deal of ours. All I want is to have access to your senses, brat. It's damn lonely in here after a while. That way, I can see what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel, and before you ask, you can shut me down when you fornicate with the swordswoman. Naruto tried really hard, but he couldn't avoid the sudden intake of memories of the many positions he and Yugao were in as they ravaged each other a couple times. Okay Kyuubi, you've got a deal. Although, I know you're aware that I won't be facing S-ranked criminals on a daily basis. However, upon facing foes like Kakashi-sensei, be sure that I'll use your chakra. Now, I don't know I can allow you to use my senses, I mean, do not worry about that, it's already done. Ah, I can already smell fresh air, it's nice. Now, get out of here brat. Naruto did as he was told and left, though he wouldn't be the same if he didn't let out a smart-ass remark seeing as it was the damn fox who called him in the first place. Next day Naruto was already up and ready to leave for his home village. Right now, he was supposed to meet his team at Sunagaku's main gate. In little less than 10 minutes, he reached the location only to see Guy and Lee screaming to each other, challenging to see who would reach Konoha first, while the rest just face-faulted at the two's antics. As soon as he sensed Gaara's presence behind him, Naruto smirked and turned in order to properly greet the fellow Jinchuriki and Kazekage of Sunagaku. Although the Kage wasn't that talkative, Naruto knew how to communicate with him. The redhead Jinchuriki had a smile on his face. I wanted to thank you for your help once more, Naruto. Gaara extended his hand while gathering sand. Naruto smiled and shook the Kazekage's hand. No problem Gaara, we are friends, aren't we? I know you'd do the same thing if the situation was reversed. Although, it's high time we did something about the Akatsuki. We can't just sit around and wait for them to collect all the Jinchuriki. The topic was suddenly serious and Gaara nodded as well. I understand, though it will be extremely hard to convince other Kages about this threat. I'll do what I can to send messages to Iwa and Kumo, though I highly doubt even one of them will see it like we do. I'll ask Hokage-sama to send word to Kirigakur and Takigakur. Hopefully, they will be more open to threats such as this one. Now, you take care my friend. Naruto shook Gaara's hand once more and then turned towards his team, knowing that Gaara would just leave when the conversation was over. By now, only Kakashi and Sakura remained, waiting for him to say goodbye to Gaara, seeing as the others were betting on who would win between Lee and Guy. Neji and Tenten placed a few bets as well, so they tried following the two. In no time, Team Kakashi ran as well, towards Konoha. By the regular speed, they would reach Konoha in 2 days from now, probably night time. Well, Team Guy would arrive first, but seeing as Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi weren't in such a rush to return, they were taking their time. Surely, getting back from a mission didn't require speed and for Naruto it worked nicely. He was completely healed of course, but he was bedridden for more than 2 days. His legs weren't 100%, yet. 2 days later, nighttime in Konoha . By the time Naruto and his team arrived in front of Konoha's gates, it was already nighttime and the moon was glowing brighter than ever. He couldn't help but smile upon seeing that tonight was a full moon and, thus, Yugao would be ecstatic for a weapons spar. Something that he never understood, but somehow, Yugao was even more beautiful when illuminated by the moon. Walking inside the village, Kakashi was notified by a Chunin guard that Guy's team had already arrived and was currently waiting for his team at the Hokage's office for a full debriefing on the successful assignment. Looking at his team, he could see that they were well rested, despite the pace in which they ran towards Konoha. He suspected that Sakura would object to traveling at night, but since they were already inside Fire Country, it wasn't that much of a deal. So, the three walked towards the Hokage's tower, while Naruto looked slightly to his right, with a smile on his face. He wasn't surprised that his girlfriend already knew he was in town. She was an Anbu captain after all. He was able to understand the hidden sign language and only nodded to her invitation to meet him at her house after debriefing. As the team walked, both Naruto and Sakura were taking their time looking at their surroundings, seeing as by this time, only those who wished to have a good night out were on the streets. Usually, it was by this time that trouble usually happened and every ninja around needed to be alert, in case a drunken civilian or even a drunken shinobi was causing trouble. Luckily, nothing major happened and the team arrived at the Hokage's office. Guy and his team waited patiently for Kakashi's team, since they arrived half an hour before them. Still, Guy couldn't help but see it as a victory for him and started annoying Kakashi for it. Of course, the scarecrow Junin didn't care much about it, since he was busy finishing the last chapter of his book. Kakashi, didn't I tell you to never walk in here reading that book? Tsunade's eyebrow was twitching at Kakashi's obvious disregard for her order. But she knew that, strangely enough, reading porn and being aloof to the world were Kakashi's ways of coping with the life of shinobi, just as she chose to drink a lot. My apologies Hokage-sama, Kakashi said, before placing his book inside his holster. Just don't do it again. I want to hear the full report of this mission, so spill it. Kakashi gave the Hokage a full report of what happened since they left Konoha, giving her details of their fights against Itachi first, then against Gaara and Sasori, thus saving the cage from Akatsuki's hands. Tsunade, at the end, smiled and congratulated them on the job well done, before dismissing everyone. Sakura, for her part, nodded and turned to Naruto for something, before being shocked that the blonde wasn't there anymore. Looking at Neji, since he was behind Naruto most of the time, the Hyuga just shrugged it off saying that he left just after the Hokage dismissed them. Neji didn't even bother to see her look at his answer before he left Tsunade's office through the door together with Tenten, Lee and Guy. Showing her frustration, Sakura stormed out of her office, leaving Kakashi alone with Tsunade and Shizune. Kakashi watched everything from the corner of his only visible eye and smiled upon remembering that Yugao appeared before Naruto upon Team Kakashi's arrival. Tsunade-sama, I was wondering if I could talk to you regarding Naruto. I believe it's time that we placed Tenzo on the team. This topic surprised Tsunade a bit. It was a bit early, considering that the man would only appear once Naruto was at least adequate with the usage of Kyuubi's chakra and so far, he hadn't demonstrated such control, at least not to her knowledge. It's still too early Kakashi. Why do you think that? On the mission, Naruto used 2 taels worth of power against Sasori of the Red Sand. I couldn't even keep up with him, not even with the Sharingan. I was at first worried that I'd have to use Jiraya's seal to subdue the fox, but the fox's chakra didn't affect Naruto's mind at all. In fact, he was in control the entire time, dealing with Sasori's army of puppets. With Tenzu's help, I bet he could reach at least 3 taels and still be in control. After Kakashi explained, Tsunade narrowed her eyes at the fact that Jiraiya didn't tell her this specific piece of information regarding Naruto's training. If he did, then Tenzo would be accompanying the team to Suna, instead of only now being placed on Kakashi's team. Okay Kakashi, I'll call him here later on to tell him his new assignment. Now, you are dismissed. The Junin bowed to the Hokage, before leaving through the door, leaving Tsunade and Shizune alone to ponder on things. Naruto, after only 3 years of training, pretty much transformed from and fresh out of the academy genin into a Junin-level shinobi. It was really scary for them to witness such growth. They could only imagine how powerful he would be once he learned to fully control Kyuubi's chakra. With Naruto soon after arriving inside Yugao's apartment, via Shunshin, Naruto was not surprised to see the woman already waiting for him, sitting on her couch with a wooden sword in her hand. The fact that Yugao was tapping her fingers repeatedly told that she had been waiting for a while. Sorry about taking so long Yugao-chan, a lot happened on the mission and thus Kakashi-sensei took a while to report, Naruto said, as he already summoned his metal staff, while seeing his girlfriend leaving the room through her window. Just so you know, you're making it to me for wasting some precious full moon moments. Now, let's go. I'm in need of a sparring partner and you can't get rusty with lack of a proper challenge to test your bojutsu. Now, I understand you came all the way from Suna. Are you tired? Asked Yugao, already knowing the answer to her question. It was enjoyable to see the look on his face, upon having to answer this same question every time they sparred together. No, I'm not tired. I haven't been tired for a while now and probably it will take more than just traveling from Suna for that. Plus, yesterday, I managed to sleep a lot, so I'm 100%. I wonder about you, though, with those boring patrol missions of yours. Naruto knew that Yugao hated when someone underestimated her stamina and chakra capacity. She told him that people did all the time and every time she would show them by hitting them hard. True to his pretension, he could see her angry look and enjoyed every second of it. She was just more beautiful when she was angry, especially at him. You just signed your death warrant, Naruto-kun. Let's go. Yugao said, before she vanished, followed by a smirking Naruto who vanished as well. Naruto enjoyed when Yugao was angry at him. When calm, she was unstoppable with her sword, but when she was angry, she was vicious. And when she was vicious, something else usually happened. At one of the training grounds beneath the glowing majesty of the moon, two shadows could be seen fighting against each other, both of them smiling as each tried to find an opening to explore. Despite the fact that they were each using different weapons, they managed to adapt to both strengths and weaknesses of each weapon to utmost perfection. The sword, because of its size compared to the staff, was faster and more maneuverable. However, Naruto used more chakra than Yugao, thus he managed to swing his bow staff fast enough to parry Yugao's ninjutsu. Therefore, it was quite a challenge for the woman, since she had to worry about both ends of the staff. It only got worse seeing as both Naruto and his weapon of choice were popular for their unpredictability. She never knew when or how Naruto would strike, often defending herself through basic survival instincts rather than skill alone. Overall, it was an interesting match to watch, if not for the fact that the couple didn't enjoy any form of audience. They would be pissed if one of them noticed another shadow watching the spar from afar. Haruno Sakura didn't enjoy the fact that Naruto, her teammate, kept hiding stuff from her. They were supposed to trust each other, right? That was the lesson Kakashi-sensei taught Team 7. Of course, that lesson meant nothing to Sasuke, but it meant something for Sakura and Naruto. At least she thought it that way after she left Tsunade's office. Sakura tried searching for him all over Konoha. She only managed to see Naruto's golden hair with the help of the moonlight and, thus, she hid behind a tree as she watched Naruto sparring with some woman she never seen before. Sakura wasn't aware that Naruto was dating anyone and the fact that, whoever this girl was moving with such grace and speed only seen by the Anbu forces she kept hearing so much about. But why would an Anbu be involved with Naruto? Better yet, why would a female Anbu be involved with Naruto? If Naruto was seeing this woman, then chances were she wouldn't be able to recognize her identity. Still, curiosity got the best of her and thus she approached their position as stealthy as she could. Blissfully unaware of the Chunnin's presence, Naruto and Yugao increased the pace of their movements as both of them started sweating from the exercise. Both of them parried blow by blow, each time, feeling better and better about the whole thing. Eventually, the amount of sweat and closure experimented by the couple weakened their bodies and the hormones were slowly taking over, allowing their minds access to previous images of both during lovemaking. In no time, neither could take their eyes away from the other as they parried the weapons one last time, before Yugao threw her sword on the ground and landed her lips on Naruto's quite violently, as they fell on the ground, making out with each other. Suddenly, the noise of steps approaching warned both of them. "Looks like we've got company, we have to go," Naruto said, before she nodded. With a good use of the shunshin, Naruto and Yugao appeared inside her house. As soon as Sakura appeared closer to Naruto and the mysterious woman's location, still too shocked to see the woman pretty much jumping on her teammate, she didn't even register that no one was there anymore. The pink-haired meddler looked around for any presence at all, almost scared wondering if she was hallucinating the entire time. It couldn't be possible that an Anbu Kunoichi was that much interested in Naruto. Inside Yugao's apartment lemon sequence, been a while, haven't it? As soon as they teleported inside, both Naruto and Yugao were already being controlled by their raging hormones. It was like this after a heated spar below the full moon and Naruto had to say, he wished every night was a full moon. Their clothes were gone in an instant as the two made out in the middle living room, kissing each other while using their hands to massage the other's body. It was quite frantic and they didn't even register the lamp they broke when Yugao threw Naruto towards the nearby wall and literally took possession of his mouth. The blonde wasn't idiot enough to take charge this time around, seeing as he enjoyed seeing the woman out of control. It didn't mean that he was in full control either. Eventually, their kissing session took them to Yugao's room, before Naruto bit her lip slightly, before carrying his lover bridal style towards the bed. Yugao, for her part, swore she felt her legs tremble when Naruto fiercely grabbed her. He gently placed her on the bed, before already getting into position between her legs. Of course, he wasn't stupid enough to skip foreplay and go straight to the dessert. The couple maintained the hot makeout session for quite a while, before both felt that it was time to explore other areas of interest. Naruto's hands began massaging Yugao's right breast, while he played with left one, using his tongue. The woman began seeing stars at such level of arousal. The soft touch of his hand combined with his tongue sent her out of control as she massaged his hair, while bending her body backwards in ecstasy. Naruto did know how to push her buttons, she reasoned as with her free hand, she began to pass it gently throughout her lips, enjoying every moment of it. Her other hand was busy admiring Naruto's body muscles. She would slowly pass it along his back, then his shoulders all the way to his wrists. I'm seeing you're enjoying this, Yugao-chan, why don't we take it up a notch, shall we? The Anbu captain took a long breath as she knew what Naruto meant by that. His tongue, slowly, went to her well-defined abdomen, shaped by years and years of continuous training. By this time, she was gently biting her lower lip as Naruto's tongue reached its objective. Instantly, Yugao's head was thrown backwards pretty, while Naruto did everything and more to make her lose her mind completely. Both her hands stopped feeling Naruto's muscles and went for the now wet sheets, before she squeezed them in pure delight. The blonde's tongue was gentle, but strangely fierce. It was like it had a mind of its own, reaching for the exact spot that always made her lose control. Oh god, yeah, keep going Naruto-kun, she grabbed his golden hair and forced his head closer to her, resulting in his tongue finding more room to clean. Eventually, Yugao could feel her walls closing and her body trembling. She was almost on the verge of having an orgasm when Naruto used a different but equally satisfying weapon, his finger. Yugao had only a preview of the future intercourse, before she couldn't hold it anymore and let everything out, screaming his name while ripping the sheets that would have to be changed after the lovemaking. While Naruto looked at her with a perverted smile on his face, Yugao took a few short breaths, before she flipped him off, getting on top of him before the blonde even acknowledged what happened. He did know, though, the woman's intention as he felt her lips gently licking the tip of his was one of her ways of teasing him, before going for it. When she put it inside her mouth, Naruto's eyes lost his color as he moaned her name in a form of a whisper. Yugao smiled as she was fully intent in doing the same thing he did to her. Naruto's chances of survival went to the floor when Yugao decided to use her hand as well for aid. Needless to say, he was seeing stars right now. Yugao, after a while, remained with the hand gesture, as she met his lips in another passionate kiss. I bet you're having trouble holding yourself back, aren't you Naruto-kun? His nod was all she wanted to see, before she started whispering close to his ear. Why don't we take it up a notch, huh? As soon as Naruto's already blurred mind processed what she meant by that, Yugao already placed a condom on his member and positioned it inside of hers. She moved her hips slowly first, in order to be better acquainted with Naruto's member. It was such a good feeling as Yugao moaned Naruto's name the entire time, while occasionally increasing the speed and strength. She could hear Naruto's silent moans, asking to feel more of it. She wasn't going to deny his wish, seeing as she also wanted it more and more. Eventually, she went a little further down and Naruto's member ended up reaching the end of the tunnel. She loved it. After a while in said position, it was Naruto's time to take control as he flipped her as well, before spreading her legs and thrusting it inside, earning a delicate moan from Yugao, which he just found he couldn't live without it. By now, the dirty talk appeared as nicknames were exchanged between the couple. Nothing extreme, though, only enough to spice the mood. The couple found mutually comfortable in this position, thus Naruto remained performing the same movement, while feeling the walls tighten around his member, indicating that Yugao was on the verge of losing it. Also, he couldn't say he was in a better position as both increased the volume of their screams. It didn't take long before both had their orgasms and instantly, fell asleep in exhaustion. They were sparring before. Next day Naruto and Yugao both woke up as soon as the sunlight invaded the room. Yugao, though, was hesitating to get up under Naruto's chest, which caused Naruto to smile. Eventually, though, she had to leave seeing as she needed to reach the headquarters in less than an hour. Naruto, for his part, didn't have many obligations in the morning, seeing as he just came back from a mission and his sensei was at least 3 hours late for everything. After taking a shower, he prepared a quick breakfast for the couple while Yugao took a quick shower. As he cooked the meal, memories of last night kept invading his brain. It still surprised him how different Yugao was from the usual reserved kunoichi she appeared while on missions or outside the bedroom. He almost forgot that he was the one cooking upon remembering the new position they tried yesterday. His mind was split between remembering what happened and cooking breakfast, so he didn't even register that his girlfriend was right behind him. I enjoyed it last night, Naruto-kun, how about you? Yugao whispered close to his ear, while passing her hands around Naruto's body. You know that by doing that, you risk arriving late at the headquarters, right? Not that I'm complaining, Just saying, the woman smirked and kissed him on the neck before going to her room to get dressed for work, while Naruto was busy serving breakfast on the table. As soon as she got out, though, she saw Naruto looking at her with a perverted smile on his face. I can't help it, you look so sexy in your Anbu clothes, Yugao-chan. Yugao smiled once more and approached at the blonde in an attempt to arouse the blonde even more, which was working. The blonde always had this fantasy of being interrogated by the sexy Anbu kunoichi, which they did pretty often. Yugao for her part loved how she could seduce her lover, it made her feel special in ways that was long forgotten. After the teasing session, Yugao took a seat next to the blonde as she started eating breakfast, while engrossing in some light conversation regarding Naruto's list of activities for today. Tsunade gave his team a couple days off to fully recuperate before going back to active duty, so the blonde was free to wander around. So, she guessed he would do his second favorite activity, training. N. Points to anyone who figure out his favorite activity, considering this chapter. I think I'm going to train a bit. I'm still not close to mastering the Sweden Sushoha technique and it's bothering me. Afterwards, I don't know, I guess I'll see if Kakashi wants something. Naruto wanted to train using the Kyuubi's power, but he couldn't do it inside the village, unless he wanted the entire ninja population after him. He supposed it would be alright to train some other skills as well, since he wouldn't do anything else for the entire day. Yugao nodded, before drinking the entire milk bottle quickly and placing her mask on. She didn't cover her face until she gave her boyfriend a kiss. After that, Yugao opened her door and left towards the Anbu headquarters, leaving Naruto. After a few minutes, he left as well with the same clothes he used the night before. It didn't make sense to change, seeing as he would train once more. Stretching his limbs a bit, Naruto jumped towards the nearby rooftops towards the training ground that he used alongside Yugao. He needed a nearby water source to perform the jutsu. He managed, one time, to perform a minor C-rank technique without water nearby, but it required too much chakra, even for him. How the Nadaime Hokage did it, he would never know. Maybe that's why he became the Nadaime in the first place, thought the blonde as he jumped through the small buildings like it was routine. It didn't take long for the training ground to appear on the horizon. As soon as he landed, he stopped to look around a bit, wondering if someone was already using it. Something he picked from Yugao, if it wasn't team training, then, he didn't like sharing training grounds with a stranger. Since he didn't sense anyone, the blonde smiled and approached the lake in order to begin some light manipulation exercises to ease the chakra flowing inside his tenketsus. It involved the creation of small whirlpools. After he was done, he started making the hand seal sequence for one of the Nadaime Hokage's trademark techniques, the Sweden Sushoha water release, water collision destruction technique. Naruto, by no means, wanted to possess the Nadaime's level of control over water chakra, simply because it wasn't his affinity. He merely wished to have a suitable arsenal of techniques to help him in case his prime affinity isn't the best course of action. After feeling comfortable enough to practice the jutsu, Naruto started the hand seal sequence, while molding the necessary chakra for it. With Kakashi . A couple hours later, Kakashi was seen wandering around Konoha. He was supposed to meet Tenzo, who was given the codename Yamato by the Hokage, in front of the Hokage's office. He wondered about something interesting, though. Yamato was Yugao's second in command. So much strange coincidences surrounded them, Kakashi mused. Yugao was Kakashi's subordinate as an Anbu Jr., who afterward, was assigned to command Yamato's team and now she's dating Kakashi's student Naruto. In a weird sort of way, the bond was formed. As Kakashi approached the front of the administrative building, he saw Yamato already there, looking quite angry. The probable reason was that Kakashi was 2 hours late for their meeting, but it could be anything. Upon seeing the man to whom Yamato considered testing every available killing technique out there, he controlled his breathing a little bit, in order to calm down. You just don't make someone wait for 2 hours, it's just inhuman. Sorry for being late, Yamato. You see, a black cat crossed my path and I had to take a different path to come here. Instantly, Yamato's brain conjured a scene of the wood user slamming Kakashi's face with a tree log. Kakashi-senpai, I almost forgot about your excuses for being late. Now, I was already briefed by Hokage-sama regarding Naruto-kun's situation. I understand he already gained control over 2 taels worth of the Kyuubi's chakra. From what I saw, yes. We should meet him. I'll bet that right now he's either eating some ramen or training. Personally, I'd go for training ground number 20. It's his favorite, Yamato nodded, as he followed Kakashi. Isn't training ground 20, Yugao Taiku's favorite as well? Kakashi smiled at the question. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. At the training ground number 20 As soon as Kakashi and Yamato reached the training ground, they could see two different pillars, one made from wind and another from water. As such, they wondered if perhaps Naruto wasn't alone using the field. However, upon seeing closer, they concluded that they were two Narutos, instead of two different shinobi. One was on top of the lake, focusing on gathering the water around his body, before creating a tidal wave towards the waterfall 20 minutes in front of the blonde. Both Junin recognized the technique and wondered why Naruto was attempting such a chakra-taxing technique. If they weren't mistaken, the only one who ever used such technique was the Nadaime Hokage, and he only used it because of his unusual mastery of water ninjutsu. On the other side of the field, another Naruto, to whom both Kakashi and Yamato believed to be a Kage Bunshin, was seated in a lotus-like position with his eyes closed, while maintaining a spinning hurricane around his body. Ah, the wonders of unlimited chakra supply, Yamato. Just imagine how much he could do with the fox's chakra. The wood user could only nod dumbly as his eyes skipped between looking at the real one and the clone, presuming that the one doing the water exercise was the real one. What are you doing here, Kakashi-sensei? A sudden voice alerted the two Junins, and they turned to see a third Naruto holding a metallized bow staff with his right hand. The scarecrow Junin was slightly surprised since he supposed that Naruto had summoned only one clone to aid him in training. The fact that he, now, couldn't say for sure which of the three was the real one. Then, he remembered that Naruto's Kage Bunshin training was useless when it came to physical skills. Therefore, the real one was the one practicing with the bow staff. However, now that he certified that, the man was even more surprised than before. If the ones doing the elemental training were mere clones, then how could they use as much chakra as a high-level Junin and not be dispelled? To think the boy's chakra coils haven't fully expanded yet, even without the fox's chakra, Naruto's chakra supply is off the charts. Seriously, Kakashi-sensei, do you need anything? You kind of spaced out for a minute there. Naruto even poked his sensei a few times, which managed to awake Kakashi from his musings. Oh, sorry Naruto. Well, I'd like to introduce you to our team's new member Yamato. Tsunade-sama felt that since we ended up facing not one but four members of Akatsuki, it would be best if another Junin-level shinobi joined as well. Naruto nodded and shook hands with Yamato, before Kakashi started speaking once more. He also has another purpose, Naruto. From what I saw from your fight against Sasori, you managed to hold your own with 2 taels worth of chakra without losing control to the fox. I can see you improved a lot in this regard, since before you left, you couldn't hold 1 tael, before getting affected by the fox's urges. Yamato, here, will aid you in better acquainting yourself with the fox's chakra, so to speak. Probably reaching 3 taels worth of chakra, with 4 being your conscious limit according to Jiraya-sama. On the outside, Naruto nodded and turned to look at Yamato, but on the inside, he was cursing his existence as he knew that upon granting Kyuubi access to his senses, he knew the damn fox ended up hearing everything. No doubt, he would be ecstatic if Naruto managed to use not 1 but 3 taels worth of power. Not that I don't believe you too, but how is he able to help? I mean, even Ero-sensei found it hard to upgrade to a 3rd tael. That's simple. Yamato here is a wood user. Upon hearing it, Naruto widened his eyes a bit at the revelation and turned to Yamato. Are you related to the Shadaime or the Gadaime Hokage? How can you use Mokuden, and what does that have to do with anything? As soon as Kakashi was about to respond, Yamato interrupted him and explained to the blonde Chunin. Naruto, I'm not in any sort of way related to the Senju clan. I can use Mokuden because I was the only kid from 60 that managed to survive Orochimaru's little experiment. The man tried to replicate the Shadaime's use of Mokuden ninjutsu, so he used me as well as other test subjects. Now regarding your other question, the Shadaime Hokage, as you may or may not know, managed to control the Bijuist-tailed beasts to his will. As a result of the experiment, I retained a bit of said skill. Therefore, if you by any chance lose control to the fox's chakra, I'll be there to, let's say, save you from destroying everything in your path, so to speak. Now, apart from that, I obtained mastery in Suiten ninjutsu. So, I could give you some pointers with it, if you so wish. Naruto nodded at the man, even though he had an excellent teacher sleeping with him. I would appreciate all the help I can get, then, thank you Yamato-san. However, I fear that if we want to train me in getting used to the fox's chakra, it's probably best to do so in a more secluded place. 2 tails is quite enough for the entire village to feel it and demand my execution. Don't worry Naruto, with Yamato here on the job, you don't have to worry about it, right Yamato? Yamato nodded, though the Anbu silently pondered if he had enough chakra to subdue someone like Naruto when the time came. The boy had already 4 times the Anbu's chakra and that didn't count the fox. Naruto soon dispelled his 2 clones, one by one, while closing his eyes so not to suffer the backlash of too much information at once. After that, he felt his stomach growling and looked at the Junin with a smile on his face. Anyone up for some lunch? At the Hokage's office swamped in paperwork duties, Tsunade stamped her signature on documents dully separated by her assistant Shizune. Her face indicated clear boredom upon facing what every Kage had to do pretty much every day. It was quite infuriating to say the least. The woman just wanted to learn some minor fire jutsu so that she could burn everything. Her assistant, on the other hand, was very displeased at her master's lack of proper decor while behind the most powerful desk in Konohagakure. Eventually, the papers were finished, but Tsunade's arm was on autopilot and stamped the table repeatedly. If it wasn't for Shizune nearby to wake her up, she would have stamped her entire office, without realizing. Shizune, I'm going to create a D-ranked mission, stamp these damn documents every day. Select one fresh out of the academy genin for the job, will ya? Her eyes were almost shut and Shizune wondered if her master was already asleep. She wasn't even considering carrying out the order. It wasn't the first time as she remembered Tsunade saying, one time, that she would select a chunin and place him in a genjutsu so that he would appear like her and attend a boring meeting with some of Konoha's steel suppliers. Shizune was about to leave the office, when a chunin had the stupidest idea to barge in screaming. He was sent flying by a paperweight that was thrown by a still sleeping Hokage. The man was nurturing his head bump, while Shizune approached and picked up the piece of paper that he wanted to inform Tsunade about. Taking a moment to read it, she, then, gave it to the Hokage who took the paper, before even opening her eyes. When she read it, a sigh escaped her lips at the Kazekage's request. Apparently, Gaara conversed with Naruto in order to warn the other Kages about the Akatsuki threat and, thus, he sent a letter to the Recuperation containing information Suna had on the organization. It wasn't as extensive as Jiraya's, but no village would reject information about S-ranked criminals. The Recuperation did, though, as according to Gaara, the man just disregarded the organization as a threat simply because Suna was the weakest of the hidden villages and a threat to them was considered a minor pest to the rest of the hidden villages. Tsunade knew some info about the proud Recuperation. The man's pride was as big as his own muscles and no doubt, he would openly disregard Suna's preoccupations. Apparently Gaara thought so as well, since he asked that Konoha did the same thing. Tsunade smirked at Gaara's reasons. As inexperienced as he was on the job, the boy was highly intelligent. She saw similar skill in Nara Shikamaru. Gaara even came up with the best team to send towards Kumogakure and persuade the Recuperation into accepting the fact that Akatsuki is indeed a threat and shouldn't be underestimated. The Hokage knew Naruto to be highly skilled when it came to fighting tough enemies, but the boy lacked the necessary experience in missions that didn't only require a kunai in his fists. It would be his first diplomacy mission into another hidden village. Shizune, I know that I ended up giving Team Kakashi the day off, but please assemble them for me. I'm sending them on a B-ranked mission towards Kumo. Author note: how will the Recuperation react when confronted by Kakashi? Will Naruto meet any of Kumo's 2 Jinchuriki? Stay tuned for the next chapter. As I mentioned before, I'm not following the actual Shippuden timeline, not even what happened so far. What would be the point of repeating the same story from canon? The fact that Naruto received a better training set things in motion and different things happened. Sasori, for instance, didn't reveal that he would be meeting his spy at the Tenchi, Heaven and Earth Bridge in Grass Country's territory. That being said, there won't be any Sasuke retrieval arc for the time being. Eventually, I'll bring Sasuke into the story, but not right now. Now, I want to receive as much reviews as possible from everyone. Feedback of your work is important both to correct some mistakes and allow discussions between us. Take care. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.